walking across the country is actually really inconvenient.
Yeah, I'm on a journey. I'm taking a big journey across the country. I'm walking from Tucson, Arizona to Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm walking the whole thing. I don't take rides. I stay at host families all along the way. And it's like a chain of friends across the country because the whole point of it is community and connections and trust, and how those things are what creates safety. So people always worried about me, like, aren't you afraid? And I'm like, of the farmers? The road crew guys that stop and ask me if I need water? Like, who should I be afraid of here? You know? Of your neighbors? Are they scary? You know? So I feel like in our country something happened. And when I was little, it was like, bye mom, see you for dinner. And I'd run out the door and I'd come back hours later and I'd really be on my own, just doing stuff, and meeting up with some friends and riding my bike around town. And she didn't worry about me because we lived in a small town and we knew our neighbors. And I feel like no one lets their kids do that anymore. But that's not entirely true. I've met some people who do, but a lot of people feel like afraid.
I seek experiences over comfort. I'm uncomfortable a lot in this project. In just basic ways, like these noisy cars going by, that is uncomfortable. And that's an all-day thing for now 125 days. So it's more important to me to be experiencing things and questioning things, pushing my boundaries. I specifically put myself in uncomfortable circumstances where I'm challenged in an emotional, spiritual, and physical way, over and over and over again. You know? And I really feel pretty happy, so it must be working.
It's also journey home. I'm going from my doorstep to my mom's doorstep. I'm walking all 2,000 miles, and I haven't been home in 4 years. I miss my family, you know. I told my stepdad I was coming home. We had my stepdad is remarried to a woman he met, who's my stepmom now. And she Facebooked me and said, let's Skype. We just got broadband internet at the farm. Let's just Skype. I was like, sure. So we did Skype the next day. And I got to see them, and I hadn't been home in so long. And my stepdad and I don't call. We love each other, but we're not as good about communicating. My stepmom's better at it than either of us. She like sends me little messages and stuff. So I saw them and talked to them, and I'm like, bye, I love you. And he's like, bye, I love you. And he died that night in his sleep, unexpectedly. And I felt more blessed that I can tell you that she said tomorrow. Let's talk on Skype tomorrow. Because one day later, and I never would have seen him again. And technology has this amazing way of connecting and disconnecting us. That's one of those beautiful moments of connection. I get to see him and tell him I loved him, kind of in as much in person as you can from 2,000 miles away. And I'm not going to see him when I get there. So it's beautiful, and I would think I would cry a lot when I get to the farm. And going through small towns and farm country it's an amazing way to see the country. I've stayed at ranches, I've stayed at farms, I've talked to people about their business. I've went through the Dust Bowl in the driest year in 100 years. I saw fields that were sand dunes with corn stalks sitting out of them. The topsoil had blown away, just like in the 30s. And it's a no-till farming now. It's like totally good farming practices, but one thing goes wrong, and as a farmer, you can lose everything. It's a very interesting time to see the country, but I think maybe every year is like that, you know. I went through 5 weeks of over 100-degree heat. But I keep telling people this is not a solo epic journey. This is a shared journey because I have a webcam on my head. I'm not wearing right now, but I have a webcam and people can watch it. So I'm not really alone out there, you know. So people ask me all the time, so what are you going to make out of this? Or is this going to be a book? Or are you making a documentary? And I'm like, when it's done, that's it. It's over. I mean, to me, the art is the journey and people sharing it with me. That's it. You know, it's this liminal space between people. There's no product for me. And that's really intentional. And it drives a lot of art people crazy. I know that in the art world, I've had people who were like, because they want you to present it like it's important and it's art, not just live it and call that good, you know? And I'm not very good at making a product. I mean, I can make beautiful paintings. I can, you know, I've put together videos that, you know, I think people liked, and I've taken photographs that people like, but it's like most artists I talk to, when you talk about making artwork, it's the feeling of when you're doing it, and then there's this byproduct, and then you do something with that. You sell it, you show it, whatever. Although Wendy and I were talking, and I feel like art isn't really done till someone sees it. There's like a communication loop that happens. You make it, and maybe it's 100 years before anybody finds it and looks at it, but that completes the loop. If it wasn't meant to be seen, you wouldn't make a visual object. If it wasn't meant to be heard, you wouldn't make a sound. You know, we make stuff to share. Whether or not people admit that or want to admit that. And we also make stuff because we have to make stuff, but my art is always in the moment. It's just what happens along the way. And you know, I've gotten to the point where I tell people, you can call it spaghetti. I don't care what you call it. It's what I like to do. I call it my projects. When people ask me what do, I say I do projects. And they're always interactive, both usually online and in person. And I'm just not interested in the byproduct. I'm not interested in the residue, the material traces. There's an art historian writing a book on that right now. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in the museum space. I'm not interested in the gallery space. I like that I'm in people's homes. They might be sitting in their underwear at their computer. They might be at work at their desk and turn it on. I mean, the online part of it. And it might just be that they went out to get a coffee and they ran into me at a coffee shop, and they had to ask because I looked kind of funny. I mean, I'm a public spectacle wearing all this gear, and we have a conversation. And to me, that's it. That's the art. Somebody was asked me like, what makes it art? And I guess it's that it's with such intention. I'm not just walking to Michigan. If I just wanted to walk home, I could just walk home. But it's not about that. It's about something. It's about connections between people and the communities and the intimacy of I cook in people's kitchens. I rifle through their cupboards and make food. And that is different. It's out of, she said, Woman was saying she and her sister were trying to come up with why it was art, and it's because it's taken out of the ordinary. A friend of mine said he likes to travel in Nebraska because it's the extraordinary lives of ordinary people. It's like every person has a job that you didn't even think of it as a job. But it's really necessary. Somebody does that job. The guy who, the rendering guy who goes around and takes dead animals off all the farms. I went past this rendering truck several times. He'd drive past me when I was walking through, again, Kansas, and there were just these feet sticking, like these stiff feet sticking up at the top of the truck, and it smelled horrible. But that's a job. You have to take dead animals off the field and do something with the bodies. They have to go somewhere and be processed into something. I think that's fascinating, and it's funny. When I was looking at the video that my friend Andrew made when I was leaving my house that morning. I invited all my friends over and I cooked a big meal and we ate together, and then they headed out the door with me and they walked either a mile or 5 or 10 or 15. And he interviewed my friend Carl, and he's like, do you worry about Laura? And he's like, no, Laura exists in a bubble. This is what he did. Exists in a bubble, in this nice bubble. She'll be fine. And I think it's true. I don't know why I live there. I know what choices I make to help me stay there. You know, I don't engage with media. I don't read the newspaper. I don't have to know what's going on. I listen to the radio. I like NPR. I listen to NPR when I'm at home doing dishes and stuff. Kind of in and out. I listen to what that is. I don't watch the nightly news. I don't even have a TV. I haven't had a TV for 15 years. My friends all say, oh, did you see blah, blah, blah on The Simpsons? And I'm like, I don't have a TV. And they're like, well, I don't either. And I'm like, Okay, but I don't watch TV. Like, it's not that I just don't even have one. I don't even engage with it. I don't have any interest in it. Mostly because I might watch a TV episode. My friend made me watch Mad Men, and I was like, okay. And he's like, you want to watch another one? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you didn't like it? I'm like, no, it was really good. But you don't want to watch another one? I'm like, no. Ultimately, it makes me feel worse for having watched it. I mean, any TV, not just, you know, after I'm done, I feel like, I don't know, kind of blah. Even if it was a really good show and I enjoyed it while I was watching it. Whereas an hour spent with a friend, in a hot tub, preferably, you know, and I feel great. And so I just always try to put in my life more of the things that I like and figure out which things are not healthy for me and make me feel blah, and get rid of them. One of those is the news. I don't need it. I went to Mexico for 9 months and did a project. I came back and the news sounded exactly the same as when I left. And I figured I probably don't need to listen to this at all. And I'm not unaware of what's going on either at the same time. But I do rely on my friends to tell me what's going on in the world. But you know, people talk about stuff, but I don't want to get dragged into feeling hopeless. And I think the fear sells things so well. Oh, if you can just make someone a little afraid, they're going to buy your product. They can be afraid of you know, getting fat, or afraid that their car is not safe for their children, or afraid that they don't have the right insurance policy or whatever, and you will sell some products. So fear-based media works really well. It's great. It's great for selling things, which means that people feel afraid. I think artists are meant to be visionaries. I think that's our job. And we started being social critics instead, and just complaining about what there is instead of talking about what there should be or could be or what you want. And so I just make work that's about what I'd like things to be like. And it's all my work is about intimacy and trust and connections and the things that brighten my life. That's all. I just say, well, what if I did that on a bigger scale and asked people to join me? And a lot of times, you know what? I spend one night at somebody's house, and in the morning when they drop me off on the road, they say, I love you. I hope you have a good walk today, and just let me know that you get there safely. And at some point, you know, they feel responsible for me for a couple days, and I ask them to do that, to treat me like their brother, their daughter, their cousin, their sister, their aunt. I ask them to treat me like family, to let me cook in their kitchen, pet their dog, play with their kids, eat at their dinner table, sleep in their beds, and then they feel responsible for me. They help me find my next place. And one woman said, I just want to make sure you're okay tonight, and then I'm done with my responsibility. And I'm like, yeah, thank you. And I don't know, I think you can ask that of people. I feel a little bad sometimes because people are helping me so much on this journey. I set it up so I can't do it without help. I don't even have a tent. If worst case scenario, of course, I can sleep on the ground. I mean, that's not going to kill me. It'd be a little buggy and blah. I'd have to recharge my things at, you know, McDonald's or something in the morning. But I think that in asking people to help me, I'm inviting them into something bigger than all of us. That's all I hope. Hopefully, that's what people have told me, is they want to be part of this. They want to be part of what I'm doing, and that it's pleasurable, and they like helping me, and they feel good. So that's it. I mean, I feel good when I do those things, so I'm putting it out there. I live a life of grace. I live a gracious life by asking people to treat me kindly, and it comes from asking for it. That's it, you know? And it's hard. It's not easy to do. Just say, treat me kindly. Help me. And it works somehow. Everybody can do that.
How can they not?
Well, they can choose to treat me badly, but I've done this for 124 days, and I think one person has even been suspicious of me in person. You know, people on the phone are like, no, she's not a transient, she's not a transient, she's a really nice girl. But, yeah, we can all ask for grace.
Where do we ask?
What's that?
Where do we ask? From humankind?
Well, you can ask it from God, whatever that means to you. I think it starts there on that bigger thing that's bigger than all of us, that we all tap into all the time. That we have no control in our lives at all. We have all these illusions of control, and we always have to we're always being kind of taught that they don't exist and everything's ephemeral, and walking across the country on your backpack is no more scary than just leaving your house in the morning. You know, life is ephemeral, and enjoy it now, because this is what you have for sure. You don't have anything for sure tomorrow. You don't. None of us do. And that sounds really pessimistic, but I mean it in an optimistic way, if that makes sense. You know, and then you ask it of your fellow man. And you can verbalize it. You can just say, please treat me kindly. Please. You know, or you can do it in the unspoken way of approaching people as if they should. You know, you approach people and you treat them how you'd like to be treated, but also just expectations. I think human animals read expectations like that. If you expect someone to, if you're suspicious and you expect people to treat you badly, they do, actually. The ones that are likely to see that in you, and then they might treat you badly. And if you expect people to treat you kindly, they do. Like, not always, I mean, nothing's a given, but, you know, we're such good little pack animals. It's like, you know, they read your body language. We read each other instantly and know that person needs this and this person needs that, and that person expects this and this person expects that. So just expect them to treat you kindly.